Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today, we're going to help you get faster around one of Formula One's most iconic tracks, China. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comment section, or in my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections. Car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally, a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. So here's the setup I run in China. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out this setup on your own. This setup prioritizes front-end rotation and grip throughout the entirety of the track without sacrificing straight-line speed. As a disclaimer, this setup is a general baseline for you to start with and applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. Sector 1 of China begins with a very unique, long, sweeping right-hand corner. Approaching the corner, watch for the meter boards on the left, specifically the 50-meter board. Right after the 50-meter board, you want a quick, sharp turn into the right. A fraction of a second after you do this, you need a slight tap of the brakes, about 25% for just a moment, as well as a downshift to 7th gear. You want to aim to be as close to this inside curb as you possibly can, as we'll treat this corner as a double apex. At the curb now, maintain a little bit of throttle. Now, drifting out wide, slowly exchange your throttle input for brake input. This part of the corner requires very little braking after that initial jam of the brakes when turning in. As you're drifting out to the middle of the track and away from the curb, slowly increase your steering angle and your brake pressure. As you do this, slowly downshift from 6th to 5th to 4th. Take your time with the shifts, there's no need to rush. As you make your way around the corner, try to avoid pulling back to the inside or close to the curb, as you want to tighten up at the very last second to create that double apex. Stay toward the middle of the track, and as the end of the corner approaches, watch for the curb to tighten up on the right. Here, you want to really turn in. Try to get your front right wheel on the curb. At this point, you ideally want to be in 3rd gear. This corner is very difficult, so here's an example of a full speed lap slowed down. Pay attention to my throttle input and my brake inputs. The proper line can be difficult, but with a few laps of practice, you can be consistent. The biggest thing to take away from this is what I'm doing on the gas and the brake. Once tightened up to the right with your wheels on or close to the curb, start the process of turning the car sharply left. A quick and cautious use of the throttle can help you rotate the car from hard right to hard left. Down this little hill now, as soon as your steering wheel starts to go left and you're right in front of this curb, brake and downshift to 2nd gear. Again, this helps rotate the car into the corner. Try to keep your left wheel on the curb here until right where this Qatar Airways ad stops. Then you should naturally be drifting out wide. At this point, steadily increase your throttle. It's very easy to spin here as you're accelerating while the car is at an angle. To help this, I like to short shift up to 3rd right before I feel the back end is going to slip. This helps the rear stay planted. Continuing to widen out now, and once confident with the traction, put the power down and use this exit curb on the right. Cut some of this inside curb here and pull the car to the left immediately after to prepare for the upcoming right-hander. Alright, the corners in Sector 1 are very complicated, but let's see it at full speed. Luckily, Sector 2 is much more straightforward. Into this corner, you should be sticking to the left side of the track. Watch for the meter boards here. You want to brake exactly at the 100 meter mark. This corner is pretty conventional. Hard braking now and downshifting, start turning in just after 50 meters. Try not to cut the inside curb here, it's not too forgiving. At mid-corner, slowly apply pressure to the throttle. Accelerating cautiously now, widen out left and aim to get close to this exit curb. But again, try not to touch it. Accelerating now, sway towards the right side of the track. This corner is going to be taken flat out, but the most important thing is the turn-in point. Since there aren't many markers to indicate where you should turn in, follow the rubber marks on the track. These give you a general idea of where to turn in. For this corner, try to stay out wide just a little bit longer than you think. A later apex here is very important. For reference, you should start closing in on the curb right where this red truck is on the left. After this point, try to keep your front left wheel as close to the curb as you can until the corner opens up. Once you see this white F123 sign, start to widen out a bit, but stay generally towards the left side of the track. The next corner is a right, so you want a good line for entry. The curb on the right gives you a pretty good indication of the proper line and braking point. Pulling to the right now, brake exactly where this curb begins, and then follow parallel to it. Braking should be around 25% and hold it there until you hit the apex. You should also downshift 2 times into 5th gear. After a moment, tighten up to the curb. Now you can release that brake pressure and very slowly get back on the throttle. You'll naturally want to widen out to the left on exit, but try to stick as close as you can to the right side of the track. These last 2 sections of corners can be tricky since there aren't many reference points, so don't be discouraged if you don't get it at first. With practice, you'll develop muscle memory of the best line through here. Anyway, on the right side of the track now, pull close to that outside curb. Right where this small driveway meets the curb, brake. Here, you want 2 downshifts into 3rd gear. As soon as you brake and downshift, turn into the corner. At mid-corner, stay off this inside curb and aim your car to extend all the way to the right. It's very important to note that you can lose a lot of time here by not extending all the way or by waiting too long to get back on the power. At mid-corner now, get back on the power and as I said, extend all the way to the right, but try not to touch the curb. Once extended, you should be around full throttle in 3rd gear. Pull back to the left, but don't touch this inside curb. Naturally widening out on exit, make sure not to touch this curb either. That's a run through of Sector 2, now let's see it at full speed. On the right side of the track now, prepare for the upcoming chicane. You want to brake exactly at the 100 meter board here. You can play around with braking later, but this is a good baseline. Under braking and once turning in, make sure to be careful with this inside curb here. Ticking too much can be a bit troublesome. Careful on the throttle now, and once exiting, try to pull back into the left as much as you can. This inside curb is flat here, so you can use it while turning in to make this corner a bit easier. A very light tap of the brakes here can be helpful as well, as opposed to only lifting off the throttle. Widening out to the left now, cautiously start accelerating. Once you're confident in your level of grip, slam the power down. It's important to note that when swinging back out to the left after this bank turn, try not to touch this curb, it can bottom you out. Anyway, fly down the straight and enable DRS. Once approaching this corner, stick to the left side of the track and watch for the meter boards. You want to brake right between the 150 and the 100 markers at around 120 meters. Under braking, slamming down the gears, wait to turn in until the last second. This corner is very tight. Once turning in, you can use a little bit of this inside curb, but I prefer not to. Widening out on exit, keep the car off this outside curb. Slowly getting back on the power now, make sure you're confident with traction before slamming the gas. Once comfortable, up through the gears and pull to the right side of the track. Right after the 50 meter board, brake, downshift twice, and turn into the corner. You can cut some of this inside curb. This corner is conventional but taken at high speed, so it takes some practice. At mid-corner now, get back on the power and extend all the way to the right. This is the tricky part. This curb is raised and you definitely don't want to go over it. It's also easy to run wide here and get a warning or a penalty. Try to keep the car to the inside as much as you can. Personally, I like to brake just a fraction harder than necessary through this corner in order to ensure I don't exceed track limits. Anyway, getting back on the power now, make your way down the small hill and finish the lap. That's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of China broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment on this video or in my Discord. Also, I've recently uploaded a track guide for Assetto Corsa, so check that out if you're interested. So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.